Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, and Scott, as they kick off this week's discussion. Hello, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. This is the place where I have to come back after taking a week off to split up these guys from having a lover's tiff. My name is Scott, and as always, I am joined by Philip.
Hello.
And Shane.
Oh, hoy.
And what are we reading today? We are going to be taking a look at Monstress, Volume 2, entitled The Blood, written by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. This book covers issues 7 to 12 out of the Monstress series. It's still an ongoing series, and we'll leave it like that. Let's say a quick hello to who we've got in so far. We've got Wednesday Spoiler. This is the person who chose this book for this week. He won the Herd's Choice last week, so thank you very much for putting your entry in and winning. Congratulations, and I hope you've got your opinions ready, because we certainly do. Connie is also in as well. She says, "Hi fellas, happy Wednesday. I didn't read the book."
Lucky you.
Get out. Come back when you've read it.
Don't save yourself the time.
We'll just stay quiet for about 4 hours, isn't it? Like, Martin's in as well. Evening all. How you doing? Thank you for joining, mate. Okay, so this is carrying on. Synopsis time, by the way. This is carrying on directly from Volume 1. And we see Maika. Is it Maika or Maika? I'll say Maika. Maika Half-Wolf. She's carrying on her kind of quest to kind of discover herself. And these 6 issues kind of see her discovering more about herself and what her mother kind of taught her while she was a child. We learn a lot more about her family, and we see a big relationship change between Maika and Zin, the kind of monster that's kind of living inside her. We learn a lot about their pasts, and we also go on a nice sea voyage across the sea to this scary, creepy island made up of an old god's remains. And it's all about their journey there, getting the answers they need, and coming back and carrying on. So that's pretty much what happens. I don't want to spoil too much, but this is there's a lot of fun in betweeny stuff going on here, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it. If you can see here, I've got the deluxe. I'm that much of a fan. It's nice, isn't it? A bit shiny here.
Nice bookmark. Yeah.
I know, nice. There we go. But yes. Okay. Martin's saying he's just finished. Had to read Volume 1 and 2. That's literally what I did. Because we read Volume 1 so long ago. It was episode 28 of our first season, and now we're like well over a year past that. So I went and read Volume 1 again. Did all that yesterday, and I read Volume 2 today, and I finished reading an hour ago. Wow. Yeah. So okay, we'll stop there. And Phil, I would like you to kick us off, if that's okay. What did you think?
Okay. So I realise we're live. We've had a week to read this book, but I'm sitting here now, still undecided how I feel about it. To be brutally honest, it's not that it's bad or that it's good. I'm struggling to kind of connect to it in a way. Okay. It's quite unique. This book's it's definitely unique. I've never read a book like it in terms of it's completely different from obviously superhero stuff, but it's not even like any indie book that I would know of. it's definitely better in like a series of novels as opposed to a comic book. I just think there's a lot of elements to it. There's so many elements going. There's so many things going on
But like,
that
if you're reading, novels like this, like I've recently completed a novel trilogy recently called the Broken Earth trilogy, and I was thinking I would have loved to have seen some of this stuff visually. I would have loved, like, it's all well and good describing stuff, but when it comes to like high fantasy and sci-fi stuff, sometimes when they're describing it, I'll think of something different to what you're thinking of and what Shane's thinking of. So it's like I would love to see that kind of visualized exactly how they are trying to describe it. So aren't you not happy with how this does it? Like,
no,
no, all right, okay.
no. I mean, I do agree with what you're saying. It's like I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and
Yeah.
I love kind of Lord of the Rings art and whatever else. But when you're reading a high fantasy novel, it could take multiple chapters to explain something, to explain like a race of people or a city or whatever, a previous battle. This doesn't have that. It's just the characters talking. There's no narration. There's no kind of breakdown of what this is. Here's the history, and it goes on to like 30 pages explaining what this is. So it's hard to kind of get that balance. That's what I'm trying to say. Like between comics and novels, it's hard to get that balance. Yes, you want the visual aids, but you also want that kind of descriptive background in the book.
See, I briefly rewatched our last talk about Volume One, just the first quarter an hour or something, and we talked about how much exposition, is that the word? Yeah, exposition there is, and it's just a massive dump of all this information of the world that has been before like we start reading at issue 1, but now it sounds like you're saying there's not enough.
No.
So like, so you weren't happy last time. So there was too much for Volume 1, and now there's not enough for Volume 2.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's
I
me.
kind of
It's hard to strike that balance. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's
Yeah.
hard to get that right. Like they refer to certain cities and certain previous battles and stuff like this, but they're just mentioning it. They're not really like, what's the relevance to it? If you're going to show us this battle from hundreds of years ago or the war from hundreds of years ago, show us it. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like
yeah.
there's a lot of things referred to, which is great. I just again, it's not that it's bad. I just think that I'm thinking ahead that hopefully all this all comes together and we'll get the payoff for it towards the end of the story. I'm sure we will.
Hoping.
Yeah, I'm sure it will happen. It's just at the minute it's just the journey, I suppose, really, with a lot of things that we don't really understand, but hopefully it all comes to a head at some stage.
Like, I am on a similar page to you there, and I am really hopeful that we are going to get that kind of payoff at the end, because at the back of the deluxe, it's got all these like Eisner Award winning categories or nominations and stuff. Oh, it's won 8 different awards, right? But they're all in 2018, which is the time that like Volume 3 was out. So this story was written in 2017, the Volume 2 stuff. So maybe you are right. Maybe there is a kind of big payoff at the very end that makes it worthy of winning these awards.
Yeah, I just think the overall story so far in this volume, if you take away all the kind of complicated stuff, it's quite straightforward, quite a simple story. In a way, she's going to this island of bones because she needs to. I can't remember what she's going there for, but like she has this kind of dilemma with her mother and how her mother trained her and brought her up, and then these people are hunting her down. She has this secret bone that does something, and then she has this half or quarter of a mask that's a weapon, and she's a monster living, or a symbiote. I think I said last time, a symbiote living inside her. It's like a Venom book, really. And I just think it's a simple enough story that she's just going to the next stage of the journey, but there's just a lot of stuff included. And I don't know if it's the case of maybe the person's just like the person, Marjorie Liu, is like just showing off her imagination. Here's all the things I could put into a book. Or is it all meaningful? I'm not sure if it's all meaningful yet.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It does feel like it's building up to something. Shane, hi! You've been quiet for 10 minutes.
I've just been letting you go. It feels been saying some really good
Yeah,
points.
Phil is passionate.
Half of them are my notes. I don't. I have the same issue. This to me would be much better as a novel, just a nice, sit down novel, no pictures, because the art is gorgeous. Hands down, no one's going to complain. No one's going to say otherwise. The art is absolutely stunning. However, like 50% of this book is people just standing there talking, like, and that's fine for a novel if you're going to read about people having conversations, but a comic is a visual product, and if nothing's happening visually, you sort of tune out and then you're just reading the words. So then I might as well be reading a novel. Like the first half of this book is very slow. I know it's building and building, but it's very slow, and it doesn't grip you. I'm okay with slow stories. I can read a 10 issue series that's really slow for the first 9 issues, and then the final issue's a big whatever. But this was just slow. It was just a bunch of people on a boat, in a street, in a room, just having conversations. And you just sort of tune out after a while, because they're just mentioning things that, like Phil said, they're just mentioning things. I haven't seen them. I didn't see that they weren't in the previous volume. So it's like when you're in a room with, it's like if you introduced me to a friend and you were sharing a joke between your friend. I'm not going to get it because I wasn't there. So I don't need to be hearing this conversation. It's not relevant to me. And I think in a comic book, you have limited pages, so don't waste them on irrelevant things. You can always do a flashback later, to that conversation that is going to be relevant in volume 3 or 4. You have a flashback scene to say that, they had this conversation before she got on the boat, but we don't need it now. But once she hit the island, I was on board again. It was fun from there.
I enjoyed the whole, explanations and things like that, and just learning about all these new characters. Like, I love the Tiger brothers.
Yeah,
their introduction was awesome, and they looked fantastic as well with the white hair and the beard.
Very dapper.
Oh yeah, they look suave, didn't they? Look great. But yeah, I think I didn't have a problem. I think it's because I enjoy reading novels as well. I'm just happy to read dumps of words.
I'm happy to read dumps of words, but don't distract me with pretty pictures while you want to give me all these words. The pictures are gorgeous, but like I say, it's just people standing there. That's not interesting in an art form.
See, I actually quite like the slow start. The idea of those Tiger brothers kind of, bringing her to their office and explaining what they're going to do, go to this island and this kind of stuff. And obviously you've seen their connection. Is it Sensei? Is that his name?
Seizi? It was like Seizi.
Yeah. And obviously he has a connection with Maika's mother. And I thought it done that well enough in terms of he's connected to her in some way, shape or form. He knows her from when she was young as well. I liked all that. And I liked the boring start, but then it just, nothing really happened. And even when she got to the island, the next part that kind of thrilled me was more like the ferryman, the one with the bones. He was cool, but then the fox guy on the island as well. It's just this is just a bit lame.
I think this was this volume is called The Blood, isn't it? And it's pretty much all about family, isn't it? And you learn more about Maika's mum. You learn that she has an auntie, and you learn that Maika's grandmother is the Wolf Queen, and her other grandmother is the Enchantress, who was the first person to have what's his name, Zin, inside of her and stuff. And so it was just really, for me, I really enjoyed learning these little bits, bit by bit, of what makes Maika. And it was just, for me, it was like, oh my god, cool, just to think that she's got these two massively powerful beings in her lineage, and it explains why she's called Half Wolf, why her surname is Half Wolf. But then all we're waiting for now is, who's her dad? Is her dad a wolf? Is he an arcanic? So yeah, I love stuff like that. Just when family is unraveled.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a great world that they're building. It's like that. That's undeniable. The problem is this is a comic book series. Now, as a trade, that's fine. You get your slow build and you get a conclusion. If you're reading this weekly and you're just going through this dreg of this conversation in the marketplace, conversation at the docks, conversation in the office, conversation on a ship, it's like, I don't want to buy a whole comic that is just a conversation. Like that's not. You have to know your market, and if you're a comic book writer, then you have to write for comic books. And there is a certain way you write for comic books, and that is every comic book needs, even though it's a 4 to 6 part story, every individual issue needs a start, middle, and an end. I'm not saying that you can just pick up a random issue and you know what's going on, but it needs to feel like the start of a comic book and the end of a comic book. And this just feels like chapters in a much larger story. It doesn't feel like a comic book. It feels like someone's taken a novel and just drawn some pictures to the words. Oh, man. I'm sorry.
I love it. Like, no. Don't apologize. This isn't my pick. This is her choice, and it's just great to see all these different opinions from everyone. But it makes me think again then, with our experiences of how long we've been reading and what we've been reading, and yeah, is it because you grew up with the more superhero kind of stuff, and I've grown up with just mostly indie stuff, and just talking to you guys on here? Like, is it because, like, am I more open to this because I've read less than you, and maybe I don't know what the true thing of a comic, essence of a comic should be? You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think as well, the writer. I don't know the book she's read, but in the back of this trade, it does refer to her being a 14-time New York's bestseller for novels. So she's obviously writes novels, and 14 is quite a lot. So that's what she's used to. And I'm not sure what else she's done comic-wise, but maybe this is her way to try and adapt what she does, her day-to-day profession, and adapt it into comic books with, like, obviously the visual aids. And again, it's not like it's bad. It's just different. It's just different than anything we've read before. And it's hard to build the world in a comic book. Like even a single, like she insists, a single issue is 26, usually 26 pages, isn't it, for a single issue comic? And you can't waste that, really, because you're trying to get the start, middle, the end off that particular issue, then for the overall story arc. And I think just having a conversation with people who you don't know who they are, it's hard to kind of really connect to it. But saying that, I thought some of the characters were cool, and I forget their names because I'm terrible for names, but the shark lady who was teaching the fox how to swim, she was great.
And Pirate Queen, I can't remember her name, but the design for her was fantastic. She looked wicked. I want to see a lot.
She was cool. But that's just, I think with these cool characters, I don't think we've seen enough of them to really kind of see them kind of flourish and really get to know them and connect with them. But so far, they've got potential. I'll say that.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a little break, okay? Let's say hi to Liam. He apologises that him and Beth are late. Hello, thank you for joining.
Apology not accepted. It's every Wednesday. How are you late?
Rich, love this series. Looking forward to watching this back tomorrow. Unless you all hate it, in which case I will not enjoy myself. Who knows? It seems up in the air at the moment. Martin, he says, I would have liked to have seen more of the war at the start of the story and then add more to it over time to consistently build that backstory. Now, I wanted to talk about the kind of throwback to the war all the time, and I don't mind the fact that we haven't seen the war. Again, if you like reading a novel, you can just imagine the war, and just do that. You don't have to see it.
You do in a visual medium.
It's fine. Just you can also use your imagination.
Can I just say what they've tried to do with that though is at the end of each issue, or it's not every issue, they have Professor Tam Tam. So he's explaining some stuff that's went off in the past. But again, so I get they're trying to do that just with this Professor Tam Tam. Add this extra on at the end, and that's what they're trying to do. I'm not certain if it works. So that's where I am in terms of they're trying to adapt like a novel style into a comic.
It's like with Klaus when they kept mentioning the war on the moon, but they never showed it.
Hopefully that comes one day.
One day. So Wednesday spoiler. He's saying It is true that Liu is very wordy, but a lot of the narrative also falls on Takeda's art, like when Kippa hugs her fluffy tail for comfort, or when Maika turns into a monster. That's true. That's true.
Does
Yeah.
anyone else find Kippa slightly annoying? She's
No.
cute.
No,
She's
take that
cute.
back. She's not
Cute but
annoying.
annoying.
Nah. Endearing, delightful, innocent. That's how I'll describe her. Chris is here. Hey. I think a lot of Image comics don't suit the single issue format. Brubaker's Fade Out, for example, was not enjoyable month to month, but collected, amazing. I mean, I think we've said this about certain books in the past. I mean, like, I can't remember what right now. First one that came into my head then was the Kaiju heist one.
Kaiju Score.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love that a lot more. Well, I haven't read it in singles, but I loved it in trade, and I thought it would have dragged a bit in singles. I think the single issues is just going through the motions for some stories until it reaches its proper format. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And then Wednesday, spoiler says, you see the results of the war in the interactions of the different people of this world, though. This is what I wanted to say before Phil interrupted me. It's like they are mentioning this war and talking about this war, so you have a reason and you understand why the Chimeras? Yeah, those guys don't like the Arcanics, and you know why there's all this tension between all these different races and areas and stuff like that.
And everyone hates humans.
Yeah, humans suck.
Because I say that fish person who the octopus thing that Maika ripped the thing off because she didn't like how she looked. Like
She looked human.
She was human. You don't look like a arcanic. And so there's obviously that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not bigotry, that kind of resentment towards certain races. So you can tell the war has that effect because they're not willing to forget and forgive, type of thing.
Yeah,
which
that scene though was straight out of Star Wars, wasn't it? You know, when they're in the bar and that alien goes to Luke, my friend doesn't like your face, you know, and then they pick on Luke and then he chops his arm off. It's like, it's that scene, isn't it? She rips her arm off.
Yeah.
You were going to... I'm going to get hate for this. If you could name anything more boring than this, it'll be Star Wars.
Oh, episodes 1 to 3, hands
we've just been banned off YouTube. What the hell? Okay, should we look at some pages? Let's get to our pages.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just do them in the order that I got them here. So Shane, we'll do yours first.
I picked this page. It's the first page of issue 9. And you see Maika's aunt at the bottom and her grandmother sitting there surrounded by all the naked arcanics. Yeah. But the grandmother's this beautiful wolf with like 9 tails, and the face on the wolf is stunning. It looks like a wolf, but also there's emotion in the face as well, if that makes sense. Like it looks accurate to what a wolf should look like, but it's also quite human. It's weird. It's gorgeous.
It's stunning. I mean, just her as a character is brilliant. Like with these kind of characters that you got this queen and you got the wolf guy later on. I just loved looking at the fur. Like the fur looked awesome and their faces are brilliant. And even when the fox guy when he goes a bit mental in that kind of illusionary fight that they have. And his eyes just look absolutely terrifying, and his mouth is just so like creepy and stuff like that. But she is great, stunning. Yeah,
she's cool.
Over to mine. Here we go. Man, I love ghosts. Ghosts are cool. Right, I love ghost stories, and I love watching the stuff on TV about like the paranormal crap and stuff like that. So I just love the kind of idea of ghosts. So this was a really cool page, and I just loved the kind of spookiness of this and the kind of gradients and the ambiances of all the ghosts there. And you don't just have humans though in it, because you've got the whole realm of the Arcanics and the Ancients. You've got a horse here where Shane is pointing. You've got a cat at the bottom of the screen. Pretty sure there's a dog on the bottom left, and you've got a bird in the middle, and all these different types of things. And they all look so like anguish and in pain and just scary and worried and upset and things like this. And it was just the kind of creepy that I really enjoy. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
For such a plainly coloured page. There's not a lot to colour that page, is it? It just looks awesome.
Surprised Phil didn't pick it because it kind of looks like snow.
But it's not. It may look like snow, but it's not. That's why I didn't pick it.
Okay, and Phil's.
Yeah, it's just again these two old hags on the boat who are obviously conspiring against Maika. They've got their symbiotes coming through, and yeah, it's just again visually, it's grotesque enough to warrant my attention, and I give it more attention just by thinking this is just wrong on so many levels. Like these things coming to your face, and it's splitting your face in half. Like it's creepy. Like it would be horrifying, really, to be honest. And I think why I focused on this too is I'm not certain is this book trying to be horror as well. Obviously high fantasy and whatever, a bit of sci-fi. Is it also trying to be a horror book in some elements? Because that would creep me out.
But then they throw that ridiculously cute little monkey thing in there as well to throw you off guard.
And you know he's evil, because obviously he is evil, but you know it.
Look at his eyes.
Like, he's adorable.
His eyes in the bottom panel are terrifying.
What is he? He's like a ring-tailed macaque or something, isn't he?
Yeah, he's sharp teeth and stuff, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, great pages. No one sent in a page pick this week, but guys, don't forget, if you read along, do send us a page pick so we can show it on the show.
I think the artwork as well. Sorry, it's just on before we leave the art. Like you can't deny that the art's stunning. Like it's completely different. The kind of tones and the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like the color palette. So like golds and silvers and bronzes and the odd touch of color. Very 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 odd touch of color. And you can just tell that the person forget her name. Remind me her name, Scott.
Maika?
No, the artist.
Oh, Takeda.
Yeah. Just like she must take hours and hours on like a page just to do this. It takes a lot of time. So I can certainly appreciate the effort that the writer and the artist put into the book. There's no question. It just looks fabulous.
That's quite consistent to what you said on the last one, because your page was like one of the pages from issue 1, and it was just all brickwork, and you said you absolutely loved that. There was just so much detail, but it was kind of unnecessary, but you were really happy that it was put in. And then Dean and Shane kind of had, no, I think it was just Dean that had the problem that there was too much detail in the backgrounds, and sometimes he just wanted a plain background for a smaller panel, not just having all this detail.
But we say that quite often. We have the plain panel and just like run of the mill everyday comics. It just wouldn't look. It would look out of place here. Even the background where it is quite plain, you can tell like there's texture or something in the color. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like it's a bit grainy and a bit kind of dark and whatever. But you couldn't just have a plain panel. I don't think in this book it wouldn't suit.
No. Okay. We probably have spoken a lot about the writing already, but what do you think of the writing, Shane? Is there any particular things that stood out, or in a good or bad way, for you for this?
If I were to describe the writing, I would have to say sluggishly adequate. It tells the story well. Like it does what it's trying to do by creating the world and telling you the story, but there is a lot of talk. Like they are just talking throughout this book. This is like I say, 50% of this book is just people having conversations, and I'm okay with that sparingly. Like had this book started with her rocking up to the Ghost Island, the Bone Island, and then it goes 3 days earlier, and then we get our conversation, and then it goes back to the island, and she meets the fox, and then it goes 2 days earlier, and then we get the conversation that way, like intercut between the story. I would have been absolutely fine with it, but because it's just talking, it's just so much. There's no break from it.
So because of how linear it actually is, that was slow for you because of that build-up.
Yeah, this is one of those books where it needed to be out of time so that you can have as much talking as you want, as long as you intercut each issue Like you either start each issue or end each issue with something to do with the island part at the end. And then you have how she got here, who helped her get there, here's her on the boat, things like that, because this was just far too much build up for so little payoff. Whereas had you just got snippets of the island, her meeting the ferryman, and then her meeting the fox, and then her defeating the fox, it would feel like it was bigger and more epic because you're just getting the snippets intercut with all the talking. But yeah, for me, this was very sluggish.
Yeah.
I just love the build-up of it all. I mean, I've read 12 issues in the last 2 days, and it kind of had that up, down kind of, it goes a bit slow, goes up, and you're like, oh my God, this is cool. And then it goes a bit slow, you learn a bit more, and then, oh my God, this is cool again. And, that's how it was the whole time. And, for me, like I've said, I just enjoyed the slow build. I enjoyed the information dump. I like learning about these characters and learning about Maika and Zin's relationship, and you kind of see them get a bit closer when they kind of, I actually really like that bit. When they're having the fight at the end with the fox guy, and Zin kind of takes his humanoid shape, and they're kind of standing next to each other where he's coming out of her arm, and they're kind of working together. I found that really cool. But yeah, like, I'm trying to understand what you wanted from this, and because I was just happy to go with it, and I just liked the linear fashion and just the learning and things like that. Did you not take it in as much as I did, or did you not want to, or did you just were you?
No, I took it in because I really enjoy the world and the characters. Yeah. That part's fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's just the way I'm being told the story. Because the build-up was so slow and it took 4 to 5 issues or 4.5 issues, I was expecting the end to be as big as the end of Volume 1. That big battle at the end of Volume 1 with the airships and like all the magic people. I was expecting that. And instead, all you get is a showdown with a wolf on an island that is just dealt with in a page, and then she leaves again. Like, it wasn't a big enough conclusion for the build-up. It just seemed very small in the scale of things that we have seen in Volume 1.
Yeah. Well, like, I know we're just talking about these 6 issues, but I'm really hoping that we've had the massive, cool introductory 6 issues of Volume 1. Then we've got this kind of character building Volume 2, and then I'm really hoping it's kind of had that kind of quieter ending compared to Volume 1, so we can have a really good big one at Volume 3. That's what it feels like. Phil, you're nodding.
I agree to the extent, like, so for me, I'm already thinking ahead that the main story is obviously going to focus on Maika and her aunt. Or her aunt, yeah. And obviously that's going to be the main focus of the story. She has this weapon. Dad. Maybe and her dad, yes, or dad, or we assume her dad appeared at the end of this, I suppose. But it's just there's a lot of things happening that are taking you away from the main story, which I get is side subplot and all the rest of it. But like, there was even a scene when they were on the wee boat going to like the actual rowing boat or whatever it was, going to the island of bones, and this sea monstrous thing appears. So you've been summoned to the sea monster queen or whatever it's called, and then they get eaten by ghouls. And then that's it. Like, you're just showing us something and then taking it away.
Bye.
That's okay, because this is a massively unknown, world. We're learning about it, but like, I think it's cool that we're not having our hands held, and apart from the big information dumps at the end. But with stuff like this, with characters, you're just going, okay, cool, you're a thing. Like you really enjoyed the Shark Lady, So what's the difference in that? Just a random Shark Lady character has appeared, and some ghouls have appeared in the sea. Like it's the same thing.
That's it's the same thing. Yeah. Some things you like the Shark Lady, and some things that didn't really, take on, but. Even like the Shark Lady being there, like she's trying to teach the fox or Kippa how to swim.
Yeah,
like, you don't need to put that. And that was like 2 or 3 pages, and then of course she jumps in the water later on, and Maika doesn't really want to save her, She's like, no, we'll just leave her. She'll come to us, and she got it in the end.
Yeah.
But like, it's that kind of stuff. Like, it's almost like strip it back a little bit. You've got this elaborate story, just strip it back slightly and give us the main stuff more.
I get it.
And what was the payoff? Like she's trying to get Kippa to swim. Now, this is called build-up. In storytelling, you have a character that can't do something, so you teach them to do something, and then they do that at the end of the book to save the day. Kippa did not swim to save the day. He didn't know, like he didn't do it. She didn't do anything with that new skill that she acquired, so it was completely irrelevant. The idea is that if you're going to show something, it has to be relevant later on. Yeah. And for that not to be, like, she didn't even fall off the boat. Like, maybe, you know, when the people were running off the island and they were trying to get on the boat as well, so they would leave with them, maybe they tip the boat and Kippa falls in the water and is about to get eaten by one of these wraiths, and Kippa swims away because Kippa can swim now. Yay, there's your payoff. But there was no payoff to it. You just put this in for no reason.
I agree, and the only thing I can think about in terms of the payoff, maybe it's just playing the longer game, is in that the kind of connection between Kippa and Maika is a bit like, she calls her miss. Like, she sees good at Maika, but Maika is just quite horrible to Kippa at times. But I think there's a bit of love there, because obviously Maika has this kind of tough upbringing of her mum. Like, her mum basically strangled her at one point and to train her for what's going to happen in the future type of thing. And I think she's exacting that tough love to Kippa, which tells me they're good in Maika. So I quite like the dynamic. So maybe the whole swimming thing was because whenever she jumped off the boat and swam to the little lifeboat, Maika obviously picked her up with the oar eventually, but she wasn't in any rush to save her. It's just like, okay. I just think it's like that tough love that kind of emphasizes their relationship, which I quite like. But again, if that's what it's going to be, if that's the long payoff for something so simple, that's a long payoff. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's just too much.
I think that just kind of reinforces my opinion that I think this is all just a relationship building 6 issues.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It is.
That's what I've written down.
I honestly think that's literally all this is, just figuring out the family tree and building some characters, and that's it.
Plus the monster. Like, you're finding his relationship with the one he killed.
Yeah, with Hanjin.
Yeah, so you're right. It's all about relationships for me in this run, this volume.
But I don't remember Maika being so mean to Kippa in the first volume. I would have picked up on that.
No, she was.
Was she?
I read it yesterday, mate. Yeah.
She's a right bitch.
I must have blocked that out of my mind because Kippa's so cute.
I wouldn't say mean, just very dismissive, and just very nonchalant and can't be asked.
This is what I'm thinking. I don't think she has any resentment towards Kippa. I just think that's her way of showing love and care, because we've seen her mother, who she's obviously has a complicated relationship with, because she loves her mum, but also her mum, like, she's asking, like, what was the point in me? Why did you do these things to me, type of thing. So I think she's just being that to Kippa, and she thinks it's normal. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I think that again, we had the kind of information dump in the first volume. We had this relationships kind of established in this volume. I am anticipating, not that I'm going to read it anytime soon, I am anticipating volume 3, you'll find the aunt kick in more now. You'll find a bit more battle scenes. You know, she's got a quarter of the mask, so she's seen it done something to her. Does she see the future? She's seen something.
Yeah, she saw something. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's going to want to find those other 3 pieces. I'm assuming it's 3 pieces of the mask. And I would look forward to it. I'm exhausted reading this volume, and I'll give it a little break before I read volume 3.
Wednesday Spoilers just saying, if you think Wanda from WandaVision is crazy, man, Mariko, she's also quite crazy. But yeah, like I know I finished reading volume 2 an hour before the show, but honestly, I just could have kept going with this, and I think I will finish this book this week.
Is that 3 volumes total in that book?
Yeah, the first 18 issues, and then the next 18 issues would be in book 2, and that's coming out in September, I believe. So if you are collecting these, then September's your next date.
The other thing I've written down here is, what is the purpose of Ren, the cat?
Well, he's he's just accompanying them, and it like
Gary Hasdall, he's like, was it the poets or something they call themselves? That
so
society.
he isn't a poet, he's a necromancer.
Yeah.
So he can, these cats, they're a poet, and then there's necromancers, and yeah, he just raises the dead. That's his trick.
This is the thing. There was a scene where he was about to do magic.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be spectacular. Then he got like
taken away.
was it
Yeah,
taken away or whatever, and so you didn't see that. So again, it's all about build up. They're building up to something. He has more to him that we didn't see in this volume that we're going to see later on.
yeah.
So it's hard to kind of not dismiss this. We don't want to dismiss this volume, but give us something more of Ren. Give us that scene where he does do something.
We did get teased a little bit with Ren, I think, because you saw, you see all these other necromancers kind of raising the dead, but you don't have any of that kind of green glow, do you, that Ren does?
Mm-hmm.
All the other times all these dead is raised. So it does seem like he's stronger or has a different ability maybe than all the other necromancers. So yeah, like you said, there is this build up. And Martin says he's like a dark version of Puss in Boots.
Without the big sad eyes though. Doesn't have those big soppy eyes
yet.
Yeah.
Anything else on the story?
No. For me, the flashbacks were the most interesting parts with the mother. Training her for pretty much anything that can come, like the table of weapons. Everything's a weapon on the table. Like you say, she was strangling her with a scarf because she didn't recognize it as a weapon. So she was teaching her that, and then they get attacked, and she just goes crazy, and she just like attacks that woman, breaks her leg, and just goes into savage mode. And the woman even says, like, "What are you? You're stronger than normal, or you're too strong." So like even back then, she's always had the demon in her, hasn't she? Like she was a vessel for the demon. So even though it couldn't come out, she had physical traits that were showing because of that. And I would prefer a prequel trade of young Maika growing up. I think I would enjoy that a lot more than this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, the flashbacks were cool when they weren't really flashbacks, so were they? It kind of kept it relevant and linear because they were inside Zin's head. Is that where they are? And
he was going through. He said, "I need to remember more." So I think he was going through his own memories because he was there, but I think he'd probably forgotten.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
Is not that it's important. Is Sin a he or a she? Because I referred to him as he at the no. I referred him to he at the start, but then there was a few lines in the thing. I wish I'd written them down. I'm starting to think it's like a female monster now, rather than.
Well,
fair,
I think. Well, I think. No. I think they're both because he refer to his like family member as his brother sister or his sister brother. So maybe they're just both
gender neutral.
So I took that to mean that one of them's brother and one of them's the sister. That's what I took that to mean. Like we're with a brother sister relationship type of thing. No,
but he said my brother sister. He did say my brother sister. So I assume they just don't have a gender. So he just referred to him as
we refer to him as he. It's just like it's not like I say it's not Venom. It's not. For as much as I want to think it sounds like Venom and acts like Venom a little bit because it just wants to eat people. It's not Venom.
Well, we haven't been told either way, so we can say what we want. As the reader, we can decide.
Yeah.
It's up for interpretation.
Wait, do it again.
Interpretation. Oh no, you didn't.
I think I refer to Zin as a male. I think that's pretty much only because that's what we do as a society. Anything that's dark and scary and monstrous, it's a male. But like everything in this book, pretty much like 95% of the characters in this is just a female.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting, and I kind of like that.
See, I was wondering this too. Is that because of the war in terms of, was it the humans and the witches? They're like they're the two worst races, am I right in thinking? Like, did they kill all man because of the war? If you know what I'm trying to say? Is that maybe why?
I don't know.
See, we need more of this
We
war.
need more.
Yeah.
And you don't want to read on, Phil? Oh my god.
It's to be fair, the other thing is too. It's just, I've never felt more exhausted reading a comic book.
What?
Like, a comic book should be, not should be. There's no way. There's no set formula. But I generally find comic books breezy. To read. That was fun, or that was really interesting. That hooked me. This didn't do that. It wasn't breezy. It wasn't fun. It didn't hook me. It was there with a lot of information that I still haven't made my mind up whether I like it or not yet.
I mean, there must have been books in the past where you've gone, this is tough to read. I know I have.
Oh, I mean, Superman up in the sky, is that what you're
Superman
thinking?
up in the sky. No. I'm not. I was just looking at our scoreboard now, and the very bottom ones are Nameless and Onslaught. You guys must have.
Nameless was another one. I struggled with Nameless big time, to be honest.
But it didn't. But Nameless wasn't a slog. Like, Nameless didn't feel slow. Nameless was just confusing and weird and random and pointless. But it wasn't slow, and it never made me feel like I kind of just want to put this comic book down and go have a nap. Like, my brain is hurting. I need to have a nap.
At the end of the day, I think what we've discovered here is different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, go on.
It's not. I don't want to sound like that I didn't get it, like I'm dumb or something. I don't think this book is overly clever yet. Again, it hasn't, until it starts pulling things all together. You can't say it's clever. It's very imaginative. Is that the right word? Like, there's so much stuff that this person's thinking of in their head, and they're trying to fit them all in. Until it all comes together, it's hard to say it's clever. It's just a lot of stuff.
I mean, if I'm following this story, then it's you don't need to be clever to follow this story. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, Scott. Yeah.
I think the writer definitely has the whole thing penned out. Like, they have the story start to finish. They know where it's going and where it's ending. That's clear. That's very clear. But I think that they've been given either too many issues to tell the story, or that they, again, don't know how to structure a comic series, because this would work absolutely fine in a novel. If each of these issues was a chapter and you were just reading it, it'd be absolutely fine. You wouldn't feel two ways about it. But as a comic book, like I say, when you're reading an entire issue of people standing in a room talking, that is not interesting. It doesn't matter what they're saying. What they're saying could be the most amazing dialogue in the world. It could be the answer to all of man's questions, but it's just pictures of people standing in a room. That is not interesting.
I liked it, mate.
See, it's obviously we're getting the journey, like Shane's saying. It's all penned out. It's all planned. She knows how it's going to end. We're just getting there. But as a reader, it's hard to appreciate this now, because it is quite slow. I think if we finish it, I think we'll look back and go, yes, it was long, at times boring, but overall, what a story. I do think that would be the case. I just think for this particular volume, it's hard to think, because it was quite slow, quite boring, and but this we'll get the payoff down the line. I think I do actually think this third volume could be the next one too, because, like I said, that's a deluxe book, 18 issues, deluxe book. They have to end that well. Yeah, that book has to end well, else no one's going to buy the second deluxe. Yeah, so third volume probably will be a lot better.
It will. Martin's asking, is this series done or is it still ongoing? It is still going. Correct me if I'm wrong. It did have a break at around volume 5 because they released the big deluxe in 2019, I think, or 2018. Then they released volumes 4 and 5, but then no one wanted to buy them because they were waiting for the deluxe, something like that. So now they have up to volume 7 out, and now that's why they have book 2 to covering volumes 4, 5, and 6. That's coming out in September. So I'm expecting, if they're going to follow this kind of 18-issue fashion, there's going to be 3 or more big books like this. But yeah, I'm in for the ride. I love, fantasy and sci-fi is my bag, and I love it. And especially, like, for me, like, Shane, both of you, you're like, this would be better as a novel, and I'm like, this is a bit of a dream for me. This is a novel and a comic combined. This is like a hybrid for me. This is an arcanic book, right? This is brilliant. Okay,
Some things don't go together. I mean, it's like pineapple on pizza. You just don't do it. Okay, you don't put a novel and a comic book together.
No, out.
Pineapple on pizza is fantastic. Fantastic. Pizza.
Different strokes for different folks. I haven't really got that much else to say. I think the only thing I haven't touched on really is my take on the pacing. I think Phil said earlier that there was too much going on. The pacing is slow, and I'll agree with that. But again, I think that's good. I'm not in a rush to read this. I'm happy to just mull things over, think about what I'm reading and seeing and how it impacts the world and all this kind of stuff. And they had a lot of big panels with a lot of writing on them, and I think maybe they could have maybe cut off a couple issues down, maybe like 2 issues down, if they just shrunk the panels, got rid of a little bit of the text, took a page or 2 away, kind of thing. Because I do agree with Phil there about the whole swimming thing. It was a bit long. Why do we need a massive panel that just shown Kippa being taken out of the sea by the shark lady? It's that kind of stuff. If they just shrunk and chopped a few words off here and there, then I think everyone would probably had a better time.
I think it's obviously good that you're invested in the story enough that you've obviously bought the deluxe. You're already, I'm sure you probably already pre-ordered deluxe volume 2.
Not yet.
Yeah, yet. But that's something. So it's great that you're invested into it. I just don't think for myself, and by the sounds of things, Shane, we're not hooked yet. We may be if we end up having to read volume 3 at some stage for the Nerd Herd.
That's the thing, though, that you just said it. Have to read volume 3.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I agree.
We'll only read volume 3 if it's for the herd. Like, we would not go out and search for volume 3. Yeah, unfortunately.
I'm in. I'm doing it. I'm reading it this week, and I'll tell you all how amazing it is, and then you'll want to read it. Connie, though, she's come in. She says, I think the fact that this is a fantasy series is putting me off because she's not read any of this. She says she can't keep up with fantasy worlds anymore. Her brain isn't big enough. Don't be so hard on yourself. Your brain just can't be asked for a story like this. It's not that it's not big enough.
Can I also just say, because Connie been a regular viewer, watcher, happy belated birthday. I think it was her birthday the last couple of days.
Oh, yes.
So happy birthday. We love the herd's birthday, so happy birthday.
Yeah, great. Happy birthday, Con. How old is she now?
36, I think she said.
21. Again.
Again. I loved how there were things in this story that kind of touched on myths and legends that we already know, like the boatman. The ferryman, yeah, sorry.
The boatman.
The boatman. Oh, God. It's late and I'm tired.
That's because you read this really long-ass story. You're so tired. It's exhausted you.
I'm tired with happiness of reading this story. That's the only one I can remember right now, but there were a few odd bits here and there touching on myths and legends that, us as a society are already familiar with. Which makes it easier for us as a reader to kind of understand that it just looks different. Like the ferryman is just made of bones in this story. But
I really like that part too, that with the ferryman, that so she had this key, this bone or key, whatever, that her mum had, and it made sense at the time whenever she exchanged that bone because he wanted it. Take me to the island, here's your bone. And then she snatched another one because she realised that's how my mum got back. Yeah. Because she had a bone of his, so he made her take her back, type of thing. Yeah. Things like that are clever, I suppose. Yeah. The way it kind of brings that in. That was cool.
And the kind of turmoil that Maika was going through on this whole story. Pretty much was she was just following a ghost, wasn't she? She was just going, seeing where her mum had been and why she had been to these places, and just really questioning herself, like why is she is. No, sorry. Why
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 is
is
she?
who she is? Why is she is? Why is she? You know, she was just she was asking herself all that kind of stuff all the time, and just she was just really going through some stuff and really trying to discover who she is she who is. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
No? Yes?
No, I agree. I do. I agree. Not with the last sentence where you worded that, like the who she is, what
she
the
is, who she is, yes.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. To
So
be fair, I do quite like Maika as a character. Not that she's done anything overly great. She's just very intriguing. There's more to her that we're again. It's building up to. We haven't seen it yet, and I just want to get there quicker. No, I don't want any more
it's like
foreplay. I've had enough foreplay. I want to get to the end. I
Want the
want
climax.
I want the climax. I've had enough.
You're right.
it's nice to read a book where the character isn't perfect. She isn't the nicest, happiest, greatest person in the world. She's dark. She's got a temper. It's nice to read a flawed character.
Flawed. There's not a single flaw in her face because she looks stunning.
Oh,
Pretty much in every
gorgeous.
panel.
Absolutely gorgeous. Not a hair out of place.
And on that, guys, are you ready for some scores?
Yes, but first, can I quickly ask, do we think that was her dad at the end?
Yes.
I want to say yes because of
I
the
say yes.
eye symbol that was bleeding on his chest and that he felt the connection to the mask. But then I'm sure there could also be a reason to why he may not be. But my first instinct was this must be the dad because we haven't seen that many male figures in this story.
No.
But yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Everyone in the chat, if you've read the book, do leave us your score of 10 and we will add it to ours as well to give the overall average. And with that being said, I will leave it to Phil now to tell us his score.
So I had written the score down before the show, and as I think Shane has done, I wrote the word wiggle beside it because I thought there's wiggle room here. I'm not sure if I wiggled too far or not. As I said before, I'm really confused of how I feel about this book. Volume 1 was completely different, and like say you mentioned, complete overload of information. But this was like the polar opposite. Still had a lot of information, but it was just more boring in a way. Like there wasn't a lot actually happened. At least we've seen a bit of magic, I think, in the first volume. There was a lot more magic, wasn't there? Am I right in thinking?
Yeah.
And there wasn't that much here. And we've mentioned in previous weeks how we all quite like magic in books, and there wasn't enough of it here. Again, it just seemed like a bit of a slog. It was getting us to a certain point, but you could have done that in 2 issues and then give us more of a further along on the overall story. Art can't fault it. It's stunning. There's no question. It's different than any other thing I've read before. It's like I don't know what the word is, but like really overly artistic, like really overly like you could see something like drawn like this in like a museum on a picture. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not comic book art.
It's art.
Yeah, it's like almost proper art. Like, almost. And yeah, I can't fault it at all. The story, like I say, I want to get there quicker, and I'm not connected to any characters really, to be honest. Maika's cool, but again, we're still a lot unknown about her. And for volume 2, I think we should have been further along in the overall story. So see now I'm getting questioned my scores. I don't know. I'm afraid to score this now because people think Phil's playing the game here.
10 it is. Nice one, Phil.
6.5. That's what I'm doing. 6.5. It's actually 0.5 worse than volume 1, but 6.5.
Yeah,
I did it, but I don't. Like Shane said, I'm not going to read volume 3 unless we have to for the nurture.
You have to. Yeah, just so everyone knows as well, volume 1, Phil and Shane and Dean all gave it a 7, and I myself gave it a 9. So far Shane's gone, Phil has gone 0.5 down, Shane, what's your score looking like?
First up, Phil, with your wiggle room, did you just score that higher than what you wrote down?
No, I stuck to it. It wiggled up and down a couple of times, but I've just thought, yeah.
I've wiggled down with my score, so I didn't enjoy this. It was just long and it was boring, and for the tiny payoff at the end, it just wasn't worth it. For the tiny little bits of the little nuggets of her past, trained like an assassin, interesting, but I wanted more of that. Conversations in a room. How much information can you give me about the same thing over and over again? The art flawless. I'm not gonna. If I was scoring just on the art, this is a 10 out of 10, obviously. But I do have to score overall my enjoyment of the book. When I finished reading it, I was just like, was it worth it? Like, could you maybe have whittled all that down into half those issues to give me all that information? Yes, you probably could have. So unfortunately, I am going to score this lower than I initially had, because I did have a 6 written down, but I'm going to give it a 5.5 now. Okay. Talking about it, I've realized how much more I disliked it. Like, had I just not talked about it, it would have been a 6.
Like, it's that's kind of interesting, because usually we talk each other up a score. So must have said quite a lot for you to score it down. So
just kind of on the score, what Shane's saying there too. I know we don't do this usually during the scores, but the idea that we've mentioned before, this being like essentially a planned out novel-like story. I think that the luck you have there, if we were to read that as one book solidly, like issue 1 to 18, I do anticipate that we would probably have a different score overall. But we have higher scores than we have now.
That's true. Well, what I could do at the end of this, I could kind of add this score to Volume 1 score and see what we have now average overall. Let's just for a bit of fun.
Just for fun.
Okay, let's go over to me. We've had 2 scores. Wednesday Spoiler gives it 8, only because there wasn't enough of it. And Martina says, I enjoyed this, but I enjoyed Volume 1 more, to be honest. The art was great, but the payoff wasn't as good as Volume 1. I'm game to read Volume 3 to see what's next. It's a 6.5 from me, and Volume 1 would have been a 7.5. Nice, thank you. For me, this was a joy to read. I mean, like I said, I've read it all in the last 2 days, and this is a big bit of me. I love all this fantasy stuff. all of it. It was just awesome. I love all the information. I love learning about it. I love just thinking about what could be and what has been and all this kind of stuff. The art was amazing, but I'm not going to score it the same as my Volume 1. It is not as good. It's not bad, it's just not as good, because Volume 1 was the hook. That was, read these 6 issues, this is awesome, look at this awesome world, it's stunning, it's awesome, all this really fantastical magic big stuff is happening. And then Volume 2 is, okay, now that we've got you, let's tell you about all the characters, and let's build on some stuff. So that's all that I've seen this as, is a big relationship building and kind of discovery of the characters. That's the kind of arc that this has been, in my opinion. But I've really enjoyed it, and then I am really hoping then that Volume 3 is the payoff. Loved it. I'm actually scoring down as well to what I'd written down. I wrote down an 8.5, but I think it's I think an 8 personally is better suited. Considering I scored Volume 1 a 9. I think an 8 suits this. Even though I enjoyed this so much, not as much as Volume 1. So it's an 8 from me.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So we've got all the scores in. Wednesday Spoilers 8. Thank you very much again, by the way, for putting that in for Hertz Choice. And Martin's 6.5. The audience, you get an average of 7.3. Adding that to Phil's 6.5, Shane's 5.5, and my 8. That brings us to 6.8.
Ooh.
So there we go. So let's give you a little look at where it comes on the leaderboard. So here's the top 10. Doesn't make the top 10. It's a hard top 10 to get onto now at the moment. You have to get 8 or higher to to get on the top 10. So this is where it will be. So 6.8 comes joint 15th with Black Widow Volume 1 and Critical Role Volume 1. So there we go. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. It's not a bad score at all. It's just, we've read some really outstanding books.
Yeah. I'm just quickly doing what the overall would have been. So, overall, Volume 1 combined with Volume 2 gives us an average of 7.2. It was 7.5 for Volume 1, 6.8 for this, 7.2.
Let's go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, but that's it from us. We are now going to tell you what we've got coming up, and it's going to be a doozy. Here we go. That's right, for everyone on the podcast and for everyone here, we are going to let you know that next week is the official start to Sequels Month. We can't wait to get on with it. Shane, this is your pick. Tell everyone who's listening on the podcast what we are reading next week.
Next week, we are picking back up with Duncan from Once and Future as we read Once and Future Volume 2 for our second annual Sequels Month.
Sequels Month. It's going to be amazing. Connie is saying, finally a series I'm already reading. And Liam is like, yes! Once in future.
Yes, Queen.
I'm excited. Cannot wait. Wednesday spoilers. Also looking forward to it. So, but that's it. So all we got now to do is get your little wavy digits out. Bye-bye. See ya. Bye, everyone.
Love you.